Many people have predicted there would be a Metroid game coming out this year, and I was one of those people. I've predicted that announcement, and honestly, I could not have been less surprised when I saw that Metroid RAVENOUS was leaked from the Brazilians' own government nonetheless. It's pretty much confirmed at this point, right? It's pretty much official. Metroid RAVENOUS will be Metroid 6. We are finally getting another installment after the huge success of Metroid Dread. Of course, you've got Samus here. Samus is so cool. Love her suit in this game. Love the way her suit looks at the end of that game. Can't wait for the next amiibo of her. Then you've got the Emmy. This thing revealed Metroid Dread back in 2021. This thing was terrifying, and Metroid has kind of moved into somewhat of a thriller horror genre. There are so many ideas that I have about what Metroid RAVENOUS could be. Of course, we know at the end of Dread, this is kind of spoilers, but at the end of Dread, she essentially, Samus, turns into a Metroid, and so she's going to be hungry, and she's going to be ready to eat up anything and everything. We're going to see how that changes her brain, because it's the only way she was even able to beat Ravenbeak. That game is going to be great. I'm sure it's going to get announced in this September Direct upcoming here. September's Direct, man, it's shaping up to be a good one. I am so excited for this game, but what I am here to talk about today isn't necessarily Metroid RAVENOUS itself. It's what it means for Nintendo. Because Metroid RAVENOUS is proof that Nintendo does what every other company, Nintendo don't. Sony announced that they are taking away discs. No more physical media. You don't get the option anymore, and they think you're stupid. They think you are an idiot. They think that you will just go on and buy their all-digital console, give them as much money as they could possibly take from you, and move on with their lives. You're not stupid, and you're going to prove to them that you're not. But that's not the point of today's video either. You can see this video in the top right corner if you want on more details of why it's a terrible thing. But Xbox laid off thousands of employees right now. But for each and every one of those individuals that worked at Xbox, it's a travesty. This business is getting harder and harder to actually have work in. Nintendo. What does Nintendo do? Nintendo just raised their employees' payroll. They just raised all of the money that all their employees are getting. Now what are they doing? Metroid RAVENOUS. Metroid RAVENOUS is such an indictment, in a good way, on what Nintendo is and what they aren't in comparison to everyone else. Star Fox just came out. Rhythm Heaven Groove just came out. Tomodachi Life just came out. It was just a couple years ago that Mario and Luigi Brothership made its triumphant return. Fire Emblem consistently gets new games all the time. Xenoblade gets new games all the time. And here we are once again with another Metroid game after the massive flop and failure of Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. That game had so much time, money, effort put into it. I can't imagine how much money they lost on that failure. That failure of a game. But Nintendo does what other companies don't. They know how valuable their IP are, and they believe in themselves. To an almost absurdly egotistical degree, they believe they make the best games possible. They don't go out there and give us a new IP and just give up on it. They don't go out there and take their old IPs, give us a new installment, and give up on it. Metroid's had some hard times in the past 15 years. It has been a struggle. They had Other M, right? Other M was a failure. It was a flop. It was totally weird and different. Federation Force on the 3DS. Abysmal. Terrible. Metroid missed the Wii U generation entirely. But why? Why did it miss that generation? Many people thought it was because, what other company would take all of those failures and say, yeah, we still got it. No, they would say, no, this just isn't appealing to the market anymore. But they realized that those games had their own individual flaws, and they decided to go back to the drawing board, give it to another company that has been working on a lot of those different remakes like Samus Returns, Mercury Steam. What do? They pump out the best Metroid game we have had since Super Metroid, and in my opinion, in a lot of people's opinion, the best Metroid game ever. We get Metroid Prime Remastered during the Switch generation. It really shows off what Metroid Prime 4 could be. Then Metroid Prime 4 Beyond actually does come out. That game is not good. It's just not great. There are so many good aspects to it. There are a lot of ideas there that were good, but overall, it was a bad execution. It was just poor direction, honestly. It felt like everything was just kind of clobbered together in a weird way with weird NPCs that did not match the vibe of the rest of that series in the way that it should have. Nintendo doesn't give up on their IP. They don't look at the money and say, oh wow, that's all that matters to us. They don't. They look at the money and they look at the game, they look at what could be, and they go back to the drawing board. They believe in their developers and they believe that they can turn anything around. It's so hard to make games nowadays. I mean, there are so many studios that close down, people are losing their jobs all the time, and games are more difficult than ever to get into the limelight and to get real success, sustainable success. Nintendo is in a very, very valuable position, a position that many people would literally kill to be in, and yet they don't act like all the other companies in their position. Xbox will literally put out a game, Sony will literally put out a game. If that game does not meet or exceed expectations that they set for it, whether those expectations were lofty or not, taking out all context around that game completely, whether it meets expectations or not, those games and those studios will typically be shut down if they don't match what they expect them to do. Those IPs, those ideas, those games will go completely and totally dormant forever. When was the last time you saw a Banjo and Kazooie game? For the other companies, if a series goes under for a while, it's not just for a while. It typically means forever, until there is new leadership that decides to take it from the dead and bring it back. That's not how Nintendo has worked. If they want to have a brand new idea for a game, they sit on it and they don't let time and the thought of wasted and lost potential on money get to them. They decide, no, we don't have a lot of ideas here, or we don't know what to do with this series, so we're going to sit on it. We're going to let our developers think about it. We're going to make some other games. We're going to come back to it with a fresh mindset, and we're going to try again with a formula that we think is more intuitive, a formula that we think is more in tune with the actual formula that got people into the series to begin with. When Metroid Samus Returns released on the 3DS back in 2017, and they didn't even market it because they decided in that entire banger of a Nintendo Direct where it felt like every single announcement was a brand new first-party thing for the Nintendo Switch, they decided we don't want to waste any time on anything other than the Switch. So they didn't show us a brand new Metroid game in the Direct. What did they do? Instead, they revealed that brand new Metroid game after the Direct, in the treehouse that ensued the Direct. 2017's E3 is one of the most legendary events that Nintendo has ever put together. It is in the history books. It is sealed as one of the best ever. And they could have made it even better, and they could have decided to push that up a little bit more for the 3DS owners, but they didn't. They decided to wait. And what did that cost them? It cost them a lot. I don't know if you've seen the sales, but Metroid Samus Returns did not sell very well on a console with a very, very large install base. Now, I know a lot of those people probably moved over to the Nintendo Switch, but still, Samus Returns was a game that many people did not pick up and play. I would really understand if Nintendo decided, man, we tried everything. We've given them new experiences on home consoles, new experiences on handheld consoles. Now we give them a remake from a studio that we think is doing pretty good with this, and yet no one's buying it. Every other company would give up. Every other company would say, we're cutting our losses and we're moving on. This IP, no one cares about it anymore. But instead, they understand the value of time, effort, and dedication, the value of continuity between a studio and an IP, between ideas and years passing between those ideas to flesh them out. Mercury Steam had the time, had the funding, and had the care behind all of it to be able to make something that the developers of the original Metroid game wanted to make. Metroid Dread. This game was honestly, it was a dream come true for all Metroid fans. A lot of stuff got in the way to where Dread could not be developed. It couldn't match the hardware technicalities and limitations that they had at the time, but now they could do it. They could make the ME system come to life. They could make everything about the game exactly how they wanted to then, but now. Mercury Steam listened well. They were able to take their lessons learned from Samus Returns and make a very, very smooth, intuitive, and fluid experience in Metroid Dread. The combat feels incredible. Samus feels incredible. The MEs can be very frustrating for some, but I really think that overall, they give a better experience in the game. Running from these things are terrifying, and you will never, ever experience chills like you will in this game. Metroid Dread's success cannot be understated. This is the highest selling Metroid game in the series. After all of those failures, after so many games being developed, pushed out, marketed, and only selling like 1 to 2 million copies, if that, many other companies, if not every other company, would have said, it's not enough. In fact, we're shutting you down. In fact, this IP is gone. Nintendo doesn't do that. Nintendo isn't doing. Mercury Steam, if you think about it, has only ever worked with stuff that has not been their own original ideas. They worked with Samus Returns, did a great job bringing that up into the 3DS era. Then they had Metroid Dread, where technically it wasn't their idea. It was obviously the very first director's idea. He was able to help bring that life, he was able to help bring that vision to life with Mercury Steam. But this is just experience that they have continued to get. They've got the gameplay down, the cool cinematic cutscenes they've got down as well. They have everything down to now produce a brand new game with their own vision. Now, of course, this is all from Nintendo, right? Mercury Steam themselves probably aren't adding a lot of creative input here. But if Samus Returns and Metroid Dread are anything to go off of, Metroid Ravenous is going to be one of the best experiences you will be able to purchase on a Nintendo Switch 2. And it's all because Nintendo is patient and they understand the value of continuity. That's what it's all about, right? In a landscape where everything is horrible, that is what it's all about, being a Nintendo fan. We can talk all day long about the anti-consumer practices and everything that Nintendo does. They do wrong things. They mess up, but they don't mess up like Sony messes up. They don't mess up like Microsoft messes up. And Metroid Ravenous is proof. It is living, breathing proof that Nintendo is better than the competition. They just are. 1 year ago today, 2025, everyone was hating on the Switch 2, saying that it was too expensive, saying that the games were too expensive, that the games weren't any good, that they didn't have any games, that everything that they were doing was horrible. Nintendo made mistakes. Last year was very bittersweet. But for better or worse, Nintendo does what they want to do. They do what they believe is going to be best. Not just short term, but long term. Not just for themselves, but also for you. For the consumer, for the fan of that series, of each individual series. I mentioned it earlier, but all these other niche games that we've recently gotten, Rhythm Heaven Groove has come back and they really put new life into that game. Tomodachi Life finally coming back. These niche franchises continue to get love. With Sony and Microsoft, there's no such thing as a modest to moderate success. It's just, did it exceed expectations, hitherto undreamt of, or did it fail? With Nintendo, we're going to make an Emio Smiling Man, a Famicom Detective Club game, and we're going to make it the best that you could have ever imagined. The fan base is going to go crazy, and we're going to market it. I mean, I'm old enough to remember, right? We had the Paper Bag Man, the Emio, the Smiling Man, and we had no idea what this game was going to be. They almost marketed it too well, because when it was revealed to be a Famicom Club Detective game, many people were like, oh, dang, I don't care about this. But still, you got many people interested. You got someone like me interested. I bought that game, and I've played a lot of it, but I haven't finished it. I need to go back to it. But they really keep giving and giving and giving on these experiences. They keep giving back. Now, I'm not saying that Nintendo are sitting around and saying, what can we do to make the consumer most happy 24/7? No, they're still a business, and this is still smart business ideology. It doesn't have to be one thing where it's like, okay, they're only this or they're only that. No, I think they can be both. I think they genuinely care. I think their developers care about the fans, that they look to the fans, and they also develop their games around that. But they also know that that will help them in the long run. That will help them to have more first-party games, more reasons to buy their own individual console. Believe it or not, there are people out there that bought a Nintendo Switch specifically for Famicom Detective Club. There are people out there that probably played the SNES, right? That played Super Metroid, that loved the Metroid series, that probably bought a Nintendo Switch specifically for Metroid Dread. Yes, these big franchises do most of the legwork. Your Marios, your Zeldas, your Smash, your Animal Crossing, all these other games. Those games help sell these Switches right here. They help a lot. But man, Samus plays a part too. Samus plays a big part in this as well. And Nintendo realizes that. Nintendo realizes that their short-term loss at some points is going to end up helping them as long as they stay consistent. Because the more variety they can offer, the better the market will be for them. The more people that will care about consoles like Nintendo's and not care so much for everyone else's. Because you can only get this experience. You can only get a Pikmin game, all 3 and 4, on Nintendo hardware. The Nintendo Switch made dreams come true. And Nintendo moving into the Switch 2 generation, I was questioning that a little bit towards the end of last year. But they continue to make dreams come true because they don't give up. They don't stop and say, it's a failure, right? Prime 4. With Viola here, with this really sick amiibo, but with Viola in this empty desert where you can't even play music unless you have this amiibo, they give us a game like this with so much potential and it just falls flat, and yet they don't go and scramble and cancel the games. They continue to develop and make more because they know opportunities come from even the darkest of pits. So I wouldn't even be surprised if there was a Metroid 5 on the way in terms of the Prime series. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't give up on this. One day, Metroid Prime 5 will happen, probably. It may be a reboot, it may be something totally different, it may not even be a direct sequel, but another Metroid Prime game probably will come along, and this time, they may do things very differently, or in a way that makes people care more. But they know not to give up. They're different than every other company. They're better in many ways. And Metroid Ravenous is proof. It's proof that they're doing better than you would think, better than most people would think, and better than all of the industry combined. So if you believe that Metroid Ravenous doesn't even exist, let me know down below. If you think it does, if you're hyped, what do you think about all of this content that I talked about today? Make sure you leave a comment down below. Make sure you like and subscribe if you enjoyed today's video. Click that notification bell so you know exactly when my videos release, and consider joining my membership program, a few bucks a month, just to help support me financially and to help grow the channel. Click on the left side of your screen if you want to see why Sony is screwing everyone over so badly right now, and click on the right side of your screen if you want to see my reactions to Ocarina of Time and how I was wrong about that game. Well, thanks for making it to the end of the video. I hope you have yourself a phenomenal day. This has been Ray's Nintendo Talk. I have been Ray, and I'll see you all in the next video.